You are listening to the Inclusion Revolution Radio. I'm your podcast host, Novie Craven. I'm a Special Olympics DC athlete and a Special Olympics International employee. On this podcast, I interview athletes, partners, ambassadors, employees, and supporters of Special Olympics. This podcast is for anyone and everyone who's interested in Special Olympics and the work that we do. New episodes premiere every other Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, anywhere you get your podcast. You're listening to the second episode of Season 4 of the Inclusion Revolution Radio podcast. My name is Novie Craven. I'm your host for today's episode. Today, we will be talking with members of FanSided community to learn more about their involvement with Special Olympics movement and their recent work at USA Games in Orlando, Florida. Zach Betts is the founder and CEO of FanSided. Hunter Armor is the head of video at FanSided. And Ian Levy is the editorial director. Welcome, Zach, Hunter, and Ian, to the Inclusion Revolution podcast. We're so excited to have you here today.
We're excited to be here, Novie. It's great to meet you and share this experience with you.
Thank you. FanSided is one of the fastest growing networks of fandom-focused sports, entertainment, and lifestyle site on the internet. Today, the company has thriving collections over 300 communities dedicated to bring together fans to share their common passion. FanSided has covered a number of Special Olympics events, campaign stories over the years, and they continue to be outstanding supporters of our movement. I'm eager to learn more about your involvement with the movement as a whole. But first, could you tell me more about your experience at USA Games in Orlando, Florida?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think for us, the experience was more than we could have imagined. I think it was so meaningful to our team and something that kept sticking with me. I kept hearing from other volunteers, other coaches, families, people connected to Special Olympics or work for Special Olympics, that the experience did more for them than maybe anybody else that participated. And I think for us, being able to meet the families, athletes, walking into the games to kick off the start of the games was truly impactful to our team and deeply meaningful. And it made us really realize we were in the right place, doing the right thing.
Yeah, I can definitely piggyback on that. When I went, it was just, definitely meeting new other athletes that I didn't really know. And, it's just amazing to see how connected you are. It's to see, even when I wasn't playing, I was able to watch some other athletes, do their sport.
It was also, I think, a really powerful experience for our team in that, I think we brought something like 62, employees in for the event, people from all over the country. We had a couple international employees, people who came from Israel and the UK. And a lot of us had never met in person before. We had only worked remotely. And so, people were kind of nervous and, meeting colleagues and stuff in person for the first time and having the beginning of the experience be, working and volunteering with Special Olympics athletes and families. It was just such an example of what like a welcoming, opening, community looks like and feels like. And so I think it really, helped set the tone for our team, working with other volunteers, meeting athletes and families, and everybody being so friendly, so open, so welcoming, so happy to have you there and to be a part of what was going on. I think it really helped our team bond, for everything else we were there to do.
Hunter, can you tell me a bit about how the relationship between FanSided and Special Olympics began?
Yeah, absolutely. FanSided, we, like you mentioned, have 300 different communities. A lot of those communities are in sports. So a big emphasis of ours in the past has been to go to the Super Bowl, go to Radio Row, and make those connections to get more interviews, work with more athletes. And one of those connections that we made was with Special Olympics. Special Olympics attends Super Bowl Radio Row just about every year I've gone, with Special Olympics athletes paired with ambassadors. Some of those ambassadors are pro football players. Some of them are in the entertainment industry. So it was a really cool gateway for us to get to know Special Olympics better. Obviously, we've heard of Special Olympics. It's a well-known nonprofit organization, but to get to know some of the people on the inside. So a few years of that went by where we would work together on interviews, typically around Super Bowl week. But as time went on, and especially as we entered into 2020, as a company, we were looking at ourselves and going, how can we be more inclusive? Can we hire more inclusively? Can we make more inclusive content? And so having this previous relationship with Special Olympics was a really obvious strategy for us to, okay, let's work with them more. What content can we get to better be more inclusive with our content? The tricky part for us was we have these 300 different communities. Where do we fit this content within those communities? And I know we'll kind of get into that answer in a little bit. But for us, it was just a huge step towards being more inclusive as a company. And part of that is with the product that we put out there.
Zach, what compelled you to want to work with Special Olympics movement?
It's a great question. As I was actually a high school teacher before I started FanSided, and our school district had Special Olympics involved with school with specifically unified sports. And I always knew there was something life-changing happening with those athletes, the coaches, but also within our school community. And it really kind of propelled and helped change some of the how we worked with other students and how everybody felt included. Fast forward a few years, as Hunter mentioned, we were looking always for opportunities to volunteer, and us being a mostly remote workforce, how do we connect that volunteering to all of our employees? And so for us, obviously connecting with Special Olympics, we realized that this organization made a lot of sense for us. We're a fan-driven platform, and being a fan of Special Olympics is easy with these incredible stories and the moments that these athletes experience. So for us, we wanted to make that impact, to be a part of this inclusion revolution, and tell these amazing stories, but also find ways we can even go deeper in our relationship with Special Olympics. And I think for us, there's still obviously plenty of work to do in the US, but now being connected to Minute Media, that's an international tech, sports, and entertainment company, we know there's even more work we can do internationally together. So I think with us, it felt like it was a great organization that every employee could be connected to. And I think that's where we're at today.
Great. Zach, I have another question for you. How has FanSided relationship between Special Olympics grown over the years?
Yeah, that's I think a great question, and we're just getting started. I feel like, as Hunter pointed out, the relationship really just started at Super Bowl Media Row. Getting to work with Special Olympics, interview their ambassadors, and tell these stories really sent off a spark plug. And Hunter and Ian and various other team members really pushed us to create a new opportunity within FanSided to be more inclusive within our storytelling. So that's where the relationship started. And then this idea this year is we would take our first FanSided offsite and pair that going to the Special Olympics US Games, and being able to volunteer together was extremely impactful for our team. Really connected us after not seeing each other for a couple of years because of the pandemic. And so that's how the relationship has grown today. And I think, as I mentioned, I think this is just the start. I think the next steps for us is how we connect even more throughout our entire company of Minute Media. I know we have employees that are already looking at how they can volunteer within their local community. So that's a next step for us as well. But that storytelling across Minute Media is something that we really want to continue on all of our brands. And then I think another step is working with Special Olympics on how we can have development sessions to have people interested like yourself that want to be in media. And how do we give career training? How do we implement hiring practices to be a business leader of inclusion?
Great. Ian, what did you learn from informational sessions led by athletes and employees at USA Games?
Yeah, this was a really great opportunity. Special Olympics, set up a couple sessions for our employees. The first one was a lot about sort of the structure of Special Olympics and the connection between the national organization and the local chapters that sort of deliver the sports programs in each community. That it was really interesting for me to sort of get more information about the scope of the organization. I have an older sister, Jenny, who's been a Special Olympics athlete in upstate New York for 20 years, probably longer. And so my interaction with Special Olympics has mostly been at that local level, the coaches and the other athletes that she works with. And so getting to hear more about, sort of the national organization and how that connects was really useful. And then the second session was about the Healthy Athletes Screening Program, and the health initiatives that Special Olympics is engaged in, which I think is really important. So many people think of Special Olympics as just a sports organization, just an organization that's about participation in sports. And it's so much more than that. It's a mechanism for delivering so many other things besides just opportunities to participate in sports. And hearing that, the organization is really tackling, how can we deliver, healthy outcomes and really, change the lives of our athletes beyond, the couple hours a week that we get to, have them on the soccer field or on the baseball field or in the swimming pool. How do we take the lessons and the positives of sports and help, bring that to the rest of their lives. So it was really inspiring to hear about, all the work that's going on besides just, the games on the field.
Great. I have a question for all three of you. What was a memorable moment volunteering at USA Games?
I think for me, it was just seeing the impact it had on each of our individual employees. I would say I had high expectations for the impact it would have had, and it very much exceeded that. People were very moved by the different stories, the different families they met coming in from all over the country. And those volunteer sessions, they can be long days. It's hot in Florida. But those conversations and everything just lifted everyone's spirits, and it was just so fun. And I think that opportunity to meet people from all over the country, all walks of life, and hear their stories was the greatest impact on me.
But I think we had a lot of employees that are meeting for the first time, as we've noted. They also deal with their own social anxieties, their own concerns about meeting people for the first time. And I really felt like this volunteering opportunity really made everybody vulnerable, but also being in such an inclusive setting really allowed our team to shine. And it's truly amazing, as I said to Hunter, is watching our employees have conversations with these families, where families decided to stay longer at the table. They wanted to share more of their story, ask us about our stories and how we're connected with Special Olympics, and seeing families take selfies with our employees, share phone numbers, and still communicate after the games was just more than we could have imagined. And I think I shared a moment with a family from Nebraska about their son can be competing in unified sports with basketball, and just having that 20-minute conversation with them, and and hearing about their experience with Special Olympics, and knowing that there's still more opportunity for us to continue to work together. It was really amazing. And then the father left me with a World Games pin from Seattle, and it was just having those little moments, I think, was truly special for me, and I know all of our employees as well.
I think for me, it was the opening ceremonies. To be honest, the opening ceremonies was also one of the harder parts of the experience. It was, I'm from Vermont. I'm not used to the heat and humidity. We were in Orlando. It was very hot that day. It was very sunny in the stadium. It was a hot, sweaty day. And the opening ceremonies, is kind of a long event. 5,000 athletes they have to, get into the stadium. It's a huge logistic undertaking. But everybody in the stadium was just so happy to be there and so positive. And, when there was a delay, the DJs in the stadium would spin up some dance music, and the athletes who had already been in, who were, sort of on the floor of the stadium in the seating area, were popping up and dancing. And, I was sitting up in the stands in the stadium, sweating and seeing, athletes down there in the sun, just dancing away. It was remarkable to just sort of feel that positive energy. It felt like whatever else was going on, heat, humidity, travel problems, whatever, it felt like it couldn't touch the spirit of why everybody was there. Everybody was still having a great time.
Yeah, great. Definitely when, just walking into the stadium, it's a life changing. Ian, what has been the most enjoyable campaign, event, or story you have covered about Special Olympics?
I'm in a really lucky position in my role. I sort of get to touch all of the written stories in this vertical that come through. And so it's been really nice to see all of these different things. I think the one that's been most memorable for me was one that I actually wrote myself. I don't do a ton of writing these days, but I saw this story come in, and it felt like something I was personally passionate about. And so I kind of carved it out and took it myself. And that was writing about the Unified with Refugees program. It's something that's, a story that personally, kind of really matters to me. And I learned so much talking to Gerald and David from Special Olympics about the program. And I think that the two big takeaways for me were, one was the idea of Special Olympics as not just a sports organization, but as a social services organization. The organization is delivering sports opportunities, but also, health screenings, and, in places where, it can be hard to access other services around the world. Sports is a way in to deliver food aid and health aid and mental health services and educational services. And that the infrastructure of Special Olympics sort of makes it uniquely suited to help on a lot of these problems that feel big and intractable and, often sort of abstract. Special Olympics is a big organization, but they deal with individual people at the ground level. And so, making that connection. And then the other big takeaway from that was the idea of Special Olympics being a movement from its athletes to the rest of the world, and not the other way around. That was something that David talked a lot about. And it really resonated. I don't think I had seen it that way until talking about that story, but that, the athletes and coaches of Special Olympics, it's not just internal. It's not just a program that benefits the athletes who are inside of the organization and who are inside of the programs. It has benefits to give to the rest of the world, to people outside the organization, to other marginalized groups. And so thinking about it that way as an organization that really serves the entire world and not just athletes with intellectual disabilities, I thought that was a really powerful learning for me in working on that story.
Awesome. Hunter, Zach, and Ian, in a few words, can you answer the question, What does inclusion mean to you?
I think for me, it's feeling welcome. Whatever room or conversation you're in, or whatever commercials on TV or show, it's seeing that and feeling like you belong. And I think, for so long in society, there's closed doors to all different sorts of people, and it's about opening those doors up. So feeling welcome are kind of the words that stand out to me of what inclusion really means.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off Hunter too. And I think for me, it's that equal access to resources and opportunities where the individuals feel they're respected, but also their contributions are valued. And I think that's what really inclusion means to me. And I think it would be great someday that we don't even have to think about inclusion, just because it automatically happens within society.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this question and trying to figure out how I wanted to explain it. And I think my idea was changed a lot by the experience in Orlando. I think, at a basic level, inclusion is opportunity to participate, and in terms of Special Olympics, it's an opportunity to be a part of these programs and to play sports and participate. But I think what inclusion really is about so much more than just participation. It's access to not just the opportunity, but to sort of the full range of outcomes. And so, like, when I think about it in a Special Olympics context, it's not just the opportunity to play sports, it's the opportunity to have the full range of experiences that sports provide. It's the opportunity to, to be challenged at your level and to overcome challenges. It's the opportunity to be on a team, to build relationships, to build friendships. It's the opportunity to be coached, to take feedback and set goals and improve and overcome obstacles. It's the opportunity to, not just be on a team, but figure out your special gift. What is it that you as an individual provide and can bring to a team? All of those things I think are sort of part of the experience of playing sports and being active in sports. And so inclusion in the Special Olympics model is not just you get to play softball or you get to swim. It's you get to be all of the things that it means to be an athlete. And I think being in Orlando, the opportunity for these athletes to be celebrated and recognized for what they're doing, the experience, like you talked about, of walking into the arena and feeling like, I am one of the best in the world at my sport, to have that recognition and that celebration. I think that's part of inclusion too. It's opening the door and then making sure that people have access to everything that comes after that too.
Thank you, Ian, Zach, and Hunter, for joining the Inclusion Revolution podcast. It was great to talk to you today about how your journey with FanSided has connected you to the Special Olympics movement. We appreciate all the work you continue to do for the Inclusion Revolution. Thank you for listening to the Inclusion Revolution Radio. Don't forget to subscribe. Tune in again in 2 weeks for a new episode.